On Thursday, January 23rd, 2025, Chelsea Adolphus was found dead of hypothermia on the roof of Vista Medical Center East in Waukegan, Illinois. She was a patient at Vista Medical Center. How she got on the roof, why she got on the roof, how she was able to get on the roof, and why she was able to be on the roof for so long, nobody knows. This is the disturbing, unexplained death of Chelsea Adolphus. Let's get spooky. Hey, spooky people. It's your best friend Kenny here. And today we are going to talk about this very recent, very disturbing death, the death of Chelsea Adolphus. But before we get into today's video, I want to make sure that you are subscribed to this channel. Subscribe to The Spooky Lawyer. Make sure that you like and share this video. Share this video with your favorite YouTuber that isn't me. Now, I know I'm your favorite YouTuber, but share this with the favorite non-spooky lawyer YouTuber. Just send them a link. Say, hey, check out The Spooky Lawyer. You'll love him. 28-year-old Chelsea Adolphus was admitted to Vista Medical Center East in Waukegan, Illinois, around 4 a.m. on Wednesday, January 22nd, 2025, seeking undisclosed medical treatment. Now, we don't know what she was seeking, probably because there are, HIPAA disclosure laws that prevent us from finding out why she was there, and that's fine. It's irrelevant to this story. At some point around 2 a.m. on Thursday, January 23rd, she left her hospital room. Okay. Nearly 7 hours later, at 8:45 a.m., on Thursday, January 23rd, she was discovered unresponsive on the hospital's roof. She was wearing only a hospital gown. She was spotted on the roof by another patient in the hospital's parent.
Words this afternoon for administrators at a suburban hospital where a patient was found dead on the roof.
How this happens, I have no idea. How another patient's parent was the one who was able to spot her and no one else at the hospital, very strange. Chelsea was taken to the emergency room and treated for about 14 hours. She was pronounced dead of hypothermia at 11:03 p.m. on Thursday, January 23rd. The preliminary findings from the Lake County Coroner's Office indicate that her cause of death was hypothermia due to cold exposure. Obviously. She was on a roof in the middle of January in the Chicago area for 7 hours. Her body temperature was recorded at 50 degrees Fahrenheit when she was found. So, about half as warm as it's supposed to be. Toxicology results have not been released, and they might never be released because those sometimes don't ever get released. According to the Lake County Coroner's Office, they believe the door Ms. Adolphus used to access the roof did not have alarms and could not be reopened from the outside. The Illinois Department of Public Health and the Waukegan Police are investigating the incident. And it's unclear how Chelsea was able to access the roof. And some people have suggested she may have wandered there in a confused state due to a medical condition, which sounds accurate. Here is my question. How is a patient able to get out of her hospital bed, leave her hospital room, nobody noticed, find her way to a door that leads to the roof? That door is not only unlocked, but is unalarmed, with nobody seeing her. No one from the hospital seeing her. Now remember, she's in a patient gown. Okay? It's not like, someone might have confused her for a construction worker or somebody who had something to do up on the roof, right? She's able to open the door. Door has no alarms for some reason. Most hospitals, every door has an alarm. Most hospitals' beds have alarms. Able to get up on the roof, gets up on the roof, and not able to get back down because the door locks from the outside, because of course it's locked on the other side, right? And then is able to be up there for 7 hours until a patient's mom notices that someone is on the roof. Now, I'm sure there are going to be theories about how she got on the roof, whether there was foul play involved. I think that the confusion is probably the most likely answer to this question, right? I somehow doubt that there was someone at the hospital that was, intentionally luring or putting patients on the roof to die of hypothermia. But her parents obviously have questions about how she ended up on the roof and what is going on at this hospital. The Vista Medical Center East CEO stated that the hospital is cooperating with the police investigation and is confident that the staff handled the situation appropriately. That last half of that sentence is doing a lot of heavy lifting there. I don't understand how maybe there was no individual specific wrongdoing on a specific staff member, but this is pretty obviously a institutional failure that allowed this to happen. The hospital has requested an emergency injunction to remove the Lake County coroner from the investigation. Now, this is shady, and I don't think that that's standard protocol. I think that the fact that they're trying to have the Lake County coroner removed, there's something strange going on there. They're likely claiming that there's some sort of conflict of interest. The idea that the Lake County coroner has some conflict of interest is bizarre to me. The family, who's obviously still in shock and grieving, is claiming that the hospital is covering it up. They're claiming that the hospital initially lied to them, stating that Chelsea was found down the street from the hospital and not on the roof. The family believes that recent hospital furloughs and staffing cuts contributed to what happened to Chelsea. And I think that's likely. Obviously there weren't enough people, there wasn't enough security, there wasn't enough staff to be monitoring what was going on to allow this to happen. Vista Medical Center CEO Kevin Spiegel denies that there's any negligence or cover-up. He stated the hospital followed protocol when Chelsea went missing and is cooperating with the police investigation. He claims his staff acted 100% appropriately and that recent furloughs were not a factor in the death. Now, I understand that the hospital has to make this type of statement, but it seems like it's a bad move. I understand that the hospital has to come out and deny negligence because they can't admit negligence in the press because they are getting sued. But I think that there could have been, maybe a more artfully crafted statement, one of those statement non-statements rather than just sort of saying that, anybody here can tell that this is a failure upon the institution as a whole and not a situation where the hospital is blameless. The family has hired attorney Ben Crump. You may know Ben Crump. He finds himself in the middle of a lot of these situations where he's representing people who are victims of tragedies. He finds himself typically representing Black families nationwide. And it does a very good job at these cases. And he's very good at getting these cases to settle before trial. He's demanding answers from the hospital, requesting the release of surveillance footage, 911 calls, and medical reports.
Just imagine your loved one dying like this.
Attorney Ben Crump holding up the photo they say was taken by a woman visiting a family member in the hospital. The woman who they say first saw 28-year-old Chelsea Adolphus laying on the roof in the snow. Ben
Crump has filed a wrongful death lawsuit. And he's alleging the Vista Health System was negligent and committed medical malpractice. He claims that the hospital failed to provide adequate care and allowed Chelsea to die due to its systemic failures. Now, in Illinois, to win a wrongful death lawsuit, the plaintiff, who is a family member of the deceased person, because obviously the deceased person isn't alive, so they can't have standing to sue, they have to prove that the death of Chelsea was caused by a wrongful act, neglect, or failure of another party. This means that showing that someone else's actions or failures directly led to Chelsea's death. They need to show that the defendant was negligent or engaged in some other form of wrongful conduct. This means, negligence means that the defendant failed to act with reasonable care and the failure caused the death. Wrongful conduct can include both negligent and intentional acts. Although I think that this is a situation where there's negligence and not an intentional act. You have to prove that the deceased person's surviving next of kin or surviving family members have suffered pecuniary losses or financial losses as a result of the death. These damages can include loss of financial support, loss of services, loss of society, grief, sorrow, and mental suffering. With loss of financial support, that's the income that the deceased would have earned and could have potentially earned. And this was a young woman, so that could be a lot of money depending on what she was doing. Was she a college student? Was she employed at the time? Loss of services. That's the value of the services that the deceased provided to the family. Household chores, childcare, etc. Loss of society means loss of companionship, loss of love, loss of affection. The family is also allowed to recover medical and family expenses related to the death. Basically, you need to establish that someone acted wrongfully or negligently, that this wrongful act directly caused a death, and the death resulted in financial and emotional damages to the surviving family members. Not knowing specific details of this case, but looking at this case from a high-level view, I think it's pretty clear that this is a slam dunk wrongful death lawsuit. And what happens with these type of wrongful death lawsuits that are, pretty bad looking on the entity or the defendant is they get settled quickly. And I think you can look forward to this case being settled quickly. What that means, though, is a lot of the details about what actually happened here, the failures of the hospital that led to Chelsea being able to be up on the roof, may not be public. Now, the Lake County, Illinois coroner's investigation will be public. And that will give some details to what happened. The Waukegan police's investigation will also be public. And that information will likely be acquired by Freedom of Information Act requests by the press or other interested individuals. A lot of the other details of this case are probably never going to be known if this case settles quickly. And that's what will likely happen. I can tell you right now, the lawyers on this case, they don't like the publicity that the hospital is getting. Never a good thing when your hospital, which is supposed to save people, is causing the deaths of people. People are dying for unknown reasons or what appears to be negligent reasons at your hospital. I'm sure they're pushing a settlement. It'll probably be a 7 or 8 figure settlement. And, we might not hear that much about this case, which is disappointing because I think Chelsea's story here deserves to be told. And what typically happens in these types of settlements is one of the reasons the cases get settled is so the story doesn't get out, which means that there will be likely a confidentiality clause or a non-disclosure agreement relating to whatever information is discovered in discovery in this case. Regardless, this is a tragedy. This is a young woman who sought medical care and ended up in a worse situation and died in what had to have been an absolutely horrifying fashion, freezing to death on a roof. I can't imagine what she went through. I can't imagine what her family is going through. And, my heart goes out to her and her family. Make sure that you are subscribed to this channel, The Spooky Lawyer. Please make sure that you are following me on Blue Sky and TikTok. My username is akbruce. Please make sure you're following me on Twitter, too. My username is akbruce there as well. If there is a spooky, disturbing story you would like me to cover, send me an email. My email address is thespookylawyer@gmail.com. If you're a fan of the channel and you want to support the channel, there is a super thanks button in the YouTube bar where you can make a donation to the channel. Any donations go directly into the channel, obviously. I appreciate your viewership and supporting this channel by watching my videos as well. Your support has meant a lot to me. The channel is doing very well, and I'm very proud of that. So thank you. And please remember to stay spooky.